Folks, who amongst us can afford to lose $1 million? I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for York Region for week ending April 3rd, 2024. Thank you to the many of you that have subscribed. If you're here every week and you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. Yesterday was offer night on this specific property, and I'm representing the buyer. We liked the property. We had gone back to see it a couple times, and my clients decided that they're going to try to buy this property on offer night. We do a ton of research. I look at a lot of different aspects of the market, the home, its features, activity in the area, all sorts of factors to determine what makes sense as far as a sell price for this property. When I do that, it has nothing to do with what the seller's expectations are. It has nothing to do with what my client, the buyer's expectations are to buy or their budget. It's just what makes sense for this one house to sell for based on all the outside factors. And then once I have that number, then I share it with my clients, and if it matches their budget and it kind of makes sense to them, because there's also a percentage of factor in there that has to do with how much do my clients like the house and location and things like that. So if it all makes sense, then we come up with a price that makes sense for our clients, and that's what we go in with our offer. Well, it was offer night. There were 2 offers received, us and another person. And through the evening, there's a few discussions and we're going back and forth. And at some point, it took a long time to review 2 offers. Actually, this is a side note. I don't know why it took the agent 3.5 hours to review 2 offers. Anyways, at some point, the agent says, Santo, we're not moving forward with your offer. In fact, you are way off the mark. The other offer is so much higher than yours. Now, I scratch my head because, not to brag, but one of the things I'm known for that I know I'm really good at is estimating a sale price. So for the agent to tell me that the other offer is much, much higher than our offer, I'm thinking, what are these people thinking is what I'm thinking. Like, how could somebody overpay that much for a property? So I'm telling you that story so I can get into this next story. There's a property, I've got my notes here. There's a property that broke a record. These people purchased this property. It was in Vaughan for almost $4.3 million. They purchased it December 2021. They closed in February 2022. So 21, 22 borderline. February 2022, they closed at almost $4.3 million they purchased. They broke a record for the purchase price. They paid more for this house than anybody has ever paid for a property in this area, in this subdivision. So congratulations to them. They broke the highest purchase. They've got the most expensive home in the area as far as they're concerned. Fast forward to last week, that home they purchased for almost $4.3 million, well, they sold it. So if you do the math at time, they've owned this home for 2 years and almost 2 months. They've actually owned this home. They sold it last week. They sold it for just over $3.4 million. Let me throw those numbers out there again. They broke a record with the purchase, $4.3 million. 2 years and 2 months later, last week, they sold it for $3.4 million. I'm rounding for just simplicity. When you take into account closing costs and selling costs, land transfer tax, all sorts of costs involved in the purchase and then the sale, these people broke another record. The highest loss. They lost about $1 million between buying, which they broke a record, and now selling. They lost $1 million. I'm telling you that because, look, maybe their plans changed. Maybe their plans were to own this home for 20 years. Who knows? But if you don't buy it right, whatever changes later in your plans, it's way worse if you don't buy it right. If you're outbidding everybody else and you think, hey, congratulations, I won, you gotta wonder, what did you win? Having the record for the highest purchase price is really not a trophy that you should be putting on your mantle. It really has to do with what makes sense at the time when you're buying. And just because you gotta have it, it could really cost you later. And that's not a good record to have, the highest loss in the neighborhood. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, we're not going to talk about breaking records. Well, my link is up here to my calendar below this video. In the description, there's a link. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. We're looking at detached properties for Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. Let me show you what's happening here. These are average sold prices. We got Vaughan and Richmond Hill up here, Markham over here. Prices are all over the place. It's really difficult, I gotta say, to find a pattern. You got properties in the 1.1, 1.2 range. Then you got $3, $4, $5 million properties, and you got sales that are really low, so the sampling is not so high. Let's have a look and see what's going on. We're starting off with Vaughan. 20 detached properties were sold. That's it, just 20. And it seems every video I'm doing this week, I'm saying the same thing. Sales did drop in most areas previous week for weekending versus weekending April the 3rd. And my reason for that is, or my rationale, was Easter over the long weekend. And we often see any long weekend sales for that week tend to come down a bit. And so that's what I'm saying. 20 were sold because of Easter long weekend, and 6 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price is sitting at $1,902,000. Sales came down. So did the amount of property selling at $2 million or more, yet average sold price is the highest we've seen so far this year, $1,902,000. But it is up and down and up and down. It's really tough to kind of see a pattern. Overall, I would say average price has been overall trending up. Let's look a little bit closer here. 1,902 is 5% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 5% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The dotted line is a 4-week moving average. And earlier I said it kind of looks like prices have been trending up. And that's what the dotted line shows, the 4-week moving average. You could see it in the average price here. The median price also trending up, not at the same rate as the average price, but trending upwards. 20 were sold, 40% sold at list price or more. We're starting to see that percentage come down, not by a lot, but a little bit each week. 69 were listed, active listings is up. Months of inventory shot way up to 3.3, but you gotta, look at that number with a bit of caution, because it's taken into account that only 20 were sold, and my formula projects that and says basically, if we're only buying 20 a week, based on the amount of properties we have for sale, what's the months of inventory? How quickly are we going to go through the stock? So it takes into account supply and demand, 3.3 months of inventory. But we know 20 sales, it's probably due to the Easter. So I would expect more sales the following week, and that'll kind of balance out the months of inventory. Somewhere around where we were before would be my guess, but it's a bit of an educated guess, but still a guess. Here's Richmond Hill. 15 detached properties were sold, down from 25 the previous week. 5 of those 15, so 1/3, sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,834,000. 1,834 is 6% lower year over year. The median price is 10% lower year over year. 15 were sold, 47% sold at list price or more. That percentage is trending down. 52 were listed, active listings trending up. Months of inventory, because of the low sales, shot up to 3.9 months of inventory. Markham, 20 detached properties were sold. 3 of those were at $2 million or more. So 20, way down from the previous week. So Markham didn't disappoint. Markham is following the pattern of all the other parts of the GTA, or most parts of the GTA, where sales came down this week, April 3rd, versus the previous week. Average sold price is sitting at $1,793,000. Now, it's probably 1,973. Looks like to me the average around that we've seen if we average the year out so far for 2024. But it does go up and down, and it looks like over the past 4 weeks or so, average price is starting to come down a little bit. 1,793 is 1% higher year over year. The median price is 2% lower. 20 were sold, 60% sold at list price or more. That percentage is coming down. So the market's calming down a little bit. 62 were listed. Active listings is slowly increasing, and months of inventory now sitting at 2.4 months of inventory. But keep in mind, that's assuming sales are going to stay this low. Here's a quick summary, months of inventory. I'm not going to put too much value to these numbers right now, but those are the numbers. And you got to understand, folks, I'm not biased one way or another. I'm just trying to get you to see what's happening right now, clear, whether it's good or bad. That depends on what you're doing in real estate or not. Have an awesome day. Talk to you soon.